Everybody has the cancer bug. It's certain events and triggers that become active in your body, and you cannot prove me wrong.
Amanda Nigg. She's the inspiring force behind Fit Momma. She combines the grit of farm life with a passion for health and fitness. From launching a 14-day calisthenics program to creating sustainable nutrition plans, Amanda empowers busy individuals to prioritize wellness. She's here to share her journey, practical fitness tips, and the resilience that drives her mission.
Nobody's taking care of us. Like, nobody's bridging that gap between the farmer and mental health and physical health. Like, nobody's tackling that.
I feel like farmers are some of the strongest people that I know.
If you're going to start into anything, before you even start into exercise, I would say start into nutrition first, because nutrition is the hardest thing for people to grasp. If you look at the statistics, even in rural America, 47% in rural America are actually obese. At 87% actually struggle with depression and anxiety. Wow. And so the reason for that is...
Hello and welcome to the Invigor Medical Podcast. I am so excited for us to get started, even though conversation has already been so great before we clicked the thing here, because I feel like we've already recorded a quarter of a podcast.
I think we really have.
Yeah. We're so excited to have in studio with us Amanda Nigg. A little bit about Amanda. She's the inspiring force behind Fit Momma. She combines the grit of farm life with a passion for health and fitness. From launching a 14-day calisthenics program to creating sustainable nutrition plans, Amanda empowers busy individuals to prioritize wellness. She's here to share her journey, practical fitness tips, and the resilience that drives her mission. Welcome, Amanda.
I love it. I love it. You do have a broadcaster voice.
Oh, thank you so much.
It's so official. It's so official.
I'm just glad to know I offer something when I'm sitting.
It's the only reason we keep you around, Natalie.
As soon as she started talking, it was like, ooh,
it changes.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I don't sound like this in real life, guys. I put on a very specific
It's a lot of filters.
Persona.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure what the affectation to my voice might be. Like, there's a very specific podcast affectation.
That was a great word, Natalie.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
I'm not sure if it was the appropriate word, so if you Googled it and it's not, I don't want to know.
I don't even know what we're talking about.
I prefer
the made-up words are the best words, in my opinion.
100%.
So, anyways, Amanda, thank you for joining us on the show.
Yeah.
We would love to hear more about you and your story.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot to unravel.
It is.
Well, let's just start with, like, what is Fit Momma? You know, because you're like farm girl and it's fitness and you're a mom. So, I mean, I guess it's not incredibly complicated, but there's like some story behind there, I'm assuming.
There's a massive story behind there. Gosh, I don't even know where to start. So first and foremost, I'll start with this. I actually graduated into the medical field. What a lot of people don't realize that.
Okay.
Is I have a degree in radiation therapy. Okay. Which is strictly oncology. Yeah. And the whole reason I went into that field is I wanted to understand more about cancer. Because at the end of the day, and I'm totally going to say this, and someone will contradict me, is everybody has the cancer bug. It's certain events and triggers that become active in your body, and you cannot prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. I dare anyone. And so, like, you know, even going through medical school and like learning about the science and the way they were treating cancer at the time, which I know is vastly different nowadays, because I graduated back in 2010. It's so different. And so I went into that field because I'm the type of person, I'm a fixer personality. Like, I like the science side of things. Like, the more I can dive into it and understand it. And at the end of the day, you can't really ever understand cancer. Like, let's be honest. But, you know, like, I wanted to know more because, like, my idol growing up was my grandpa. And he had stage 4 lung cancer and never smoked a day in his life, never anything, but he did own a cement plant. So, you know, again, and then, you know, same with like farming, a lot of farmers, especially older generation, are getting diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Yeah. And they blame it back to the chemicals back in the 1990s, 80s, whatever. So, you know, again, science, wanting to know more about it. So that's officially how I got into starting my journey and meeting my husband is I took a step back from that. I moved to South Dakota, and my first case was a child, 4 months, fresh out of college, and it was just, I wasn't ready for it. It was like, oh my gosh, like I'm having to treat this whole entire family going through a cancer treatment, and I can explain it to the parents in layman terms, but like emotionally, I wasn't there because I didn't have kids of my own. I wasn't married. You know, I'm single, 25 years old, and treating this infant, and it was just like there was so much emotion behind it, and I was like, okay, I can't do this. So I started selling insurance, and it still hit that hell in the Ned on the hill or head on the hill, whatever. But like I was able to give back to the oncology space, or give back to people in a different way, where I sold supplemental insurance. So it was like giving money directly to the person going through the medical crisis. So it could have been like an accident, heart attack, cancer, you name it. And so it gave them the chance to focus on their health and not the expenses that were attached to it. So it still filled my cup, door to door sell.
Yeah.
5
Sales
seconds.
girl. Let's go.
Let's
go.
5 seconds.
Give me your
You got that
elevator
impression.
pitch.
Yeah. And so it was just like, I loved it. And that's how I met my husband. Is one of my clients I signed up. He was like, I have this hot young single farmer you got to meet. I'm like, here we go again. But I met him, and I was looking for a trailer because I was trying to move up to the area, because I ended up having these massive cancer claims where we paid like $200,000 to people going through cancer. Like, I loved this company I worked for because they actually did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
You know, with insurance, it's a gamble.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, you're like, are they going to cover me? Like, is this legit?
Well,
and so
nowadays, it's like they want to practice medicine practically. You know,
Yeah.
like doctors, no, we weren't going to pay for this treatment.
Yeah. So
that's
it
a whole
was
nother
it was it
discussion.
was great to work with a company that actually followed through and did what they were supposed to do. And so I loved it. And long story short, I was looking for a trailer, and he's like, if I find you a trailer, you have to go on a date with me. And I'm like, at the time, naive. You know, even though I grew up in an agriculture community. And I was like, okay, sure, I'll go on a date with you. And he's like, how does next Thursday sound? I'm like, oh crap, what does every farmer have? A freaking trailer. Duh. So it was great. We went on a date. And he threw me into the wolves. Like, we ended up going on this date, and I thought it was just gonna be him and I, you know, and next thing you know, it's him and like all his buddies.
Oh boy.
And their wives.
Oh,
so I'm like, here we go. But I survived, and a couple days later, and I was like, yep, I'm going nowhere. Like, this is, I always thought I was going to go to the big city because I loved the fast pace and all of that. And yeah, here I am in the middle of no man's land on
Where's
a fifth
the
generation.
farm?
It's in South Dakota.
In South Dakota. Okay.
Yeah. So we actually, I don't talk about this a lot because a lot of people don't understand it, is we live on a reservation.
Okay.
Unique. I know.
Yeah.
But yes, it's owned by our family. Like, his family started the farm in 1910. Like,
Okay.
it's the original farmstead. All the land that we farm, you know, is owned by his family. Like, it's not, a lot of people are like, oh, you have to be Native American to own land. It's a different area because it's open reservation. So it's a lot different. And I don't talk about it a lot because like it's super, like, the politics that happen on reservations, a lot of people just don't understand it.
Sure.
But yeah, it was great. I mean, I married him and moved on to the farm, and it's just, the rest was history. And so, going to our story, finally getting to Farm Fit Mama, we ended up building our forever home because we're like, oh, we're gonna build our dream home and retire. And it was actually half a mile as the crows fly from the farm, because his at the time, his 80-year-old grandma lived on the original farmstead still.
Okay.
Even though he would go over, you know, and work and stuff, and all the tractors and stuff and equipment were over on the main farm. And it was super nice because, like, from my back window, I could see the farm, you know, from our view and stuff like that. But we built our forever home. My husband was the contractor.
Oh,
and
that's convenient. Jeez.
I mean, if anybody ever build a home and you survive it as a couple,
yeah, I've heard that.
you're together for life. I'll just say that.
I
You're
bet.
together for life. And so we survived it. We moved in right before I ended up having our second child.
Okay.
And it was great. You know, my second child had his first steps in there. There was a lot of amazing memories. But the day before the national pandemic, so we're talking March of 2020, our house caught on fire.
Oh my gosh.
And so,
That's devastating.
and it ended up taking the whole entire home. Like, we had 5 local fire departments, you know, and we're in rural America.
Yeah.
And so, like, the first fire department showed up, you know, 38 minutes after we called them, which is insanely fast. Like, you got to understand, it's 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
And they're probably at work, but so they had to go to the fire station, load up the truck, get
'Cause
situated.
it's volunteer. It's not just like.
Yeah. And so then next thing you know, like 4 other local towns pitched in, tried to save our home. And I'll never forget that feeling, is like this massive excavator came down the driveway. And it's just like, I just lost control. Like, I just melted because I knew what they were doing. They were there to collapse the home on itself so it didn't spread. And it was just like, there goes our dream home. There goes, like, all the memories. And then, yes, it was materialistic things, but a lot of people don't understand. Like, stand in your home and take a look around. And now imagine literally seconds later, all of that is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
you're
then,
just
and
standing there.
then, and then the next day, we're on a lockdown for 2 weeks. So stores, yeah. So like stores are closed. You
Oh my
can't, you're
gosh.
social distancing. You can't talk to anybody. Like you're trying to figure out your next step. Like it was just so much coming
Crappy
at me all
timing.
at once. And
Yeah.
like my mental health just tanked. Like I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to do anything. Like, you know, for my husband, he was still able to go to the farm like and
Right.
operate. But here I am, I can't sell insurance anymore. I'm homeschooling 2 children, which don't even get me started on
Oh, girl, I
homeschooling.
am with you.
Yeah.
Like
I was
all you homeschooling parents out there, I applaud you a million times
100.
because like what are they doing with math? Like can we just go back to the old ways?
The
Like
number of times I YouTubed my daughter's 4th grade math, I was like,
I know it's just so weird. It's like the old way worked. Why were we fixing this? So it was a lot. And I told you I wanted to share the ring story.
Yeah.
So this is a God moment. And I don't care if you're religious or not. I'm super religious. But 3 days later, after our home burned down, we were trying to navigate, you know, meeting the insurance. We had the fire marshal come. They ended up couldn't determine what started the fire. It was just a mess. And luckily, you know, Red Cross came out and we were just going through that process. And I remember I just didn't want to get out of bed. I was just so struggling. And I prayed to God. I was like, just give me a sign that I can get this. Like, I just need something at this point. Like, I don't want to move, function, nothing. And so I got this vision to go find my wedding ring because that morning I was going to work out. So I was actually taking my youngest to daycare at the time. And I was all over in the garage, and the fire actually started in the garage. And so I was like, I just need a sign. And I didn't have my wedding ring on. I actually knew where it was in the house. Like I had this spot, you know, where I took it off and put it there so I could go work out. And I got this vision to go look for it. And so I came to the top of the stairs and I told my husband, I was like, hey, I know this sounds going to sound super crazy. And I know you're just going to look at me like I'm a weirdo, but I think I want to go look in the house, like through the rubble to find my wedding set. And you have to remember they collapsed the home on itself.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're talking the main
Layers.
floor, the basement, and then we had a huge, massive open loft,
Wow.
all collapsed
Crumbled
on
down.
itself. And so he's like, no problem. I'll call a couple local farm wives and they'll meet you. And I was like, okay. So I got ready, and I remember telling his uncle this that I was gonna go look for it too, and he was like, super negative, Nancy, like you're not gonna find it, like you're wasting your time, blah 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 blah. And so we got some metal detectors, and by the time I got to the house, like these ladies beat me to the house. You know, and we're trying to social distance, you know,
Yeah.
you know,
all that
3 days
weirdness.
into the lockdown. And so we get down and we end up climbing around the back and dropping down into the fire. And I was like, okay, from the master closet, it would have dropped to like right here. I was like, let's just start looking here. And we ended up finding a couple costume jewelry, you know, like fake jewelry. And I'm like,
yeah.
how did this survive?
Right.
You know? And so we were shipping to the Revel, and it was a super calm morning. I'll never forget it. Like you could hear a pin drop. It was so calm. The fire was calm. It was crazy because your house burns for
For
weeks
days. Yeah.
after a house fire. And we're shifting through this rubble, and we start to find this costume jewelry. The metal detectors were pointless. And then all of a sudden I hear his cousin behind me go, I found it. And I was like, excuse me, no freaking way.
No, you're good.
And I turn around, and she literally found my wedding set. Like she
Wow.
found it intact together, which
Wow.
they're not welded
Wow.
together.
Yeah.
And I remember my husband got the pictures and stuff. I instantly dropped to my knees and just started bawling.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, okay, I hear you, God. Like I get this. And then as soon as we found it, it's like someone lit that bonfire all over again.
What?
And so we had to climb out of it as fast as possible. And you looked behind us, and it was just like that fire was going all over again.
Wow.
And it was the most insane experience. And I'm like, if you don't believe in God, I don't like. I mean, it's that one hope I needed to get through this. And so then, you know, weeks following that, I changed my handle to Farm Fit Mama on social media. And for me, I've always been in the fitness space. Like I went to college for health promotion. I was actually going to go more into it. Like I've always wanted to launch a gym. That was, you know, you have that dream list.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And so, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start sharing my journey online and just see where this goes. And so I did this plank challenge in May of 2020. And I was like, I found a planking outline online and I was like, oh, I'm going to tweak it a little bit. And then I'm just going to throw it out there on the internet and see how it goes and tell people to join me. Because planking, simple movement, low
Really
impact,
intense.
everybody can do. And it helps with circulatory system, aligning your body, gut health. I mean, it's a powerful movement. And a lot of people forget about it. 30 seconds a day is all you have to do. And so I posted this planking challenge and I challenged a bunch of farmers to join me. It exploded. I mean, I had 800 plus farmers across the world, Australia, Canada, UK. Like, I mean, it's just like it got bigger than I expected. And they were planking on bison.
Oh, that's
trucks,
amazing.
like tractors. Like, it was just insane. And so, over this, it just really opened my eyes. Like, there's so many amazing people out there bridging the gap between consumer and producer, especially in agriculture, which is super great. Like, that needs to be myth bust. And yes, that's something I can do as well. But nobody's taking care of us. Like, nobody's bridging that gap between the farmer and mental health and physical health. Like, nobody's tackling that out there in the in social media. Like, promise me. Like, I promise you guys. Like, you go out there on social media, you will not find anybody doing what I'm doing. And so it just like I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. So I went back to school, got my personal training in nutrition, started small. Now I have a array of certifications and open gates February 5th of 2021 and haven't looked back.
That's
amazing. Incredible. When you say that if you look in this space, you're not going to really find anybody else. I feel like one of the big reasons for that, when I first heard about you, I'm just like, I feel like farmers are some of the strongest people that I know.
It's
right?
one of
Farmer strength.
And so, it's one of those things where it's like, it's like, oh, you think you're strong? Come out and bale hay for, half a day and we'll show you. And so I think that the general population has this kind of conception of this population. So can you tell us kind of like, is that a myth? I mean, obviously.
No, it exists. No, farm strong.
Yeah.
You hear that all the time.
Yeah.
Like, farm strong, I want to be like a farm. You're farm strong.
Functional as well.
Functional. But the thing with agriculture is just like any industry, it's advancing in technology practices. And so a lot of manual labor is actually getting replaced by like technology, machinery. Now they have something that will actually pick up hay bales off fields.
Oh, wow.
They have self-run tractors too, which is insane. We don't have one. I wish we did.
It's like a Roomba.
Like a
Can
remote,
you imagine if a
remote
Roomba
control?
was hitting like a tree,
Man down.
That's right.
But no, it's just like any other industry. It's advancing in times, and that's a part of the wave. And so with that being said, what's not advancing is the physical and mental health. I actually shared this before the podcast. Agriculture as a whole, 1 in 3 will actually commit suicide in agriculture. And if you look at the statistics, even in rural America, 47% in rural America are actually obese.
Wow.
And in addition to that, 87% actually struggle with depression and anxiety. Wow. And so the reason for that is, again, with technology advancing, a lot of things that aren't advancing is the mental health. We're still the world's biggest gamblers. Like, we gamble when it comes to our markets, crop prices. The stress is always there, and there's no really outlet out there that can help that. Like, even in rural America, just mental health or even healthcare in general is way behind times compared to cities. Yeah. And so it's just there's a need for it and nobody was addressing that. At the time when I was struggling at my absolute lowest in 2020, the only thing that was offered was a 1-800 number. And it's like, okay, so if I call this 1-800 number, I'm going to talk to a complete stranger, vent my whole emotional baggage onto this person, and then, feel better in the moment. But what happens if I relapse? Like, and then I'm going to have to talk to another complete stranger and go through all that again. Oh, yeah. And so it's just like, with mental health, I'm not saying it's bad. Sometimes that works for some people. They just need to get it off their chest. But, a lot of farmers are old school thinking. They're like, oh, I can tough this out. I don't need that service. Yeah. And I was that person. I was like, I don't need that 1-800 number. I need to tough this out. Yep. But luckily I had a way to work through that through a physical transformation and diving into that side of things, where a lot of farmers, they're like, oh, I'm going to tough this out. And they don't do anything about it. And the issue's still there underneath. And so they're not addressing it. And a lot of people think that when you're struggling with mental health, you can tell, but you can't. There was this really powerful commercial. I know you guys have seen it, where those two guys were sitting at a soccer game.
Yes, I have seen it.
And the one guy was just
one's happy, one's
one's happy,
energetic,
and energetic, and the other guy's sad and just meh, meh. And then the energetic guy is the one that actually committed suicide.
Yeah, just one day it's that the low key guy sitting by himself, and
it was the one that wasn't struggling with his mental health, and that's exactly right. You don't know who's struggling. They could have the most outgoing, positive personality, but you have no clue what happens behind closed doors.
Yeah,
and that commercial in itself is super powerful, because a lot of people, when I was getting certified in mental health, it's an issue that a lot of people just think they understand, but they don't really understand it, the psychology in it, and really diving into that. And so it's just, I mean, for agriculture as a whole, I became super passionate about it because, like, I went through that.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't suicidal by any means, but, like, I was
you were down,
super depressed. Like, I couldn't even get out of bed.
Yeah.
Like, I had no desire to even wash my hair, shower, show up for my kids, make food. Like, it was just, I was struggling.
I mean, I can't imagine with everything burning to the ground. I mean, I got depressed in early 21 for the first time in my life. I mean, other than, I will say for the first time in the sense of like, not being able to pinpoint going through a specific hard time. Do you know what I mean? Because at that point, we, kind of the arc of the pandemic and shutdown, I felt, it'd been almost a year at that point when this started to come up for me. But even then, it's just like, I didn't have my house burned down or whatever, but it's like, I didn't even necessarily even have an awareness that I was depressed, because I was like, what do I have to be depressed about? I don't even know why I'm depressed. But just that arc of 2020 and everything that went on, and the homeschooling the kids, and like,
a lot.
It's just a lot. Yeah. It's a lot. And I was thinking about what you said about like farmers, rural America. I feel like we've really done well as a society and seeing an uptick in awareness of mental health and talking about mental health issues. But it makes sense to me that for farmers in rural America, first of all, because like you said, not as much access. And secondly, arguably, much more of the line and the generation of thinking of, like you said, tough it out, right? So like that might be a little bit further behind on maybe where the rest of the country has been headed. To be fair, has a long way to go still, but at the same time, really seeing a lot of that progression in the last 5, 10, 15 years towards mental health awareness. So I think it's really incredible that because of your personal experience and like being a farm mama now, see a need, fill a need, and that it's not just about the fitness for you, right? And so it sounds like you went out and you like saw this need and you're like, cool, let me get certified in this. So what are your certifications that you've added now?
I honestly, there's so many, like, you got to check my website. I think personal training, nutrition, stress management, wellness coach, strength and conditioning, women's hormones. Ooh, I'm really good on that one. Gut health, running coach. And then I'm currently working on actually 5 new certifications through the ICF, which is the International Coach Federation.
Okay.
It's the gold seal.
Yeah. I'm familiar with ICF.
Yeah, most people don't even go that far. And so the 5 certifications I'm working out through them right now is Neurologistics Programming Master Practitioner, and logistics, and then also life coach, and then I'm getting another mental health certification, and in hypnosis.
Hypnosis is cool.
I mean,
who talks about
I was
hypnosis?
kind of excited about that one.
You know who talks about hypnosis?
Could it be
Andrew Huberman?
Anyways, he talks about Huberman every
fan of
podcast.
Andrew Huberman.
So did you say neuro-linguistic programming is one of them?
Neurologistics.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Neurologistics?
It's neurologistics.
Is it linguistics or?
So
No. It's
Logistics.
practitioner, masters, and there's another one. Basically, they teach you like how to run not a business, but they teach you the science and why, like how to put a proper workout, like what muscle.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot more to it. And I'll be honest, that's the one that's really like challenging me big time on the education besides of it, because it's like, wait, I can't just fly through this. Like I actually have to like sit down and like apply my thinking skills here.
Gosh.
Yeah. The nervous system is very complex.
But hypnosis was fun. I'm not gonna lie. That one, as soon as I dived into that, I was like, I don't know when I'm ever gonna use this, but this is
cool to know.
It's interesting. You get into it and it's just like, really?
It can be very powerful. Yeah. There's actually there's a live video or a video of Andrew Huberman getting hypnotized by one of his mentors, David Spiegel. And he has a whole episode where he talks about it for like an hour and a half. And he actually, that live event.
The app.
Oh yeah, what I think it's the Reverie app.
Yeah, Reverie app.
Yep.
It's like the David Spiegel who did this app.
Yeah.
That's a lot of this hypnosis research, but it's for self-hypnosis for things like, quitting smoking or drinking or whatever. And there's some that are guided and there's some, but I recognize the name when you said that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Andrew Huberman at this live event that I attended with him, he talked about how hypnosis gets a bad rep because it's like associated with stage hypnosis, and it's like it's just like he almost wishes there was a different name for it, right? Rebranding it if somehow so that more of the general public would basically like learn about it and actually take steps in it, because it's a very easy tool to access if you have the right, like like an app, right? Most people have a phone where they can download an app for pretty cheap and get some really measurable benefits. So that's super cool. That's super cool that you're doing that.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm gonna. Yeah, it's great. It's I mean, the ICF certifications are taking me a hot minute to get through those. I'll be honest. Like I actually paid for them a year ago, and I'm not even a third through the course. Like it's a lot.
Hang on, this just disconnected from this.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Do you need
just
help?
Plug back in? Probably not. I mean, I hope. I didn't know if it just like, is it just magnetic, or does it click, or does it screw? I can't tell. There. Oh, it just pops.
Okay, good.
It was like coming off the top of my ear, and I went to like go bend it, and then I thought it snapped. I was like,
oh no, I broke it. So I have a question.
All you, Evan.
I have a question for you. You went into depression. What do you think really got you out of that then? Well, I mean, you started working out. You started Farm Fit Momma. What kind of was it? The training? What kind of brought you out?
It was the workouts. Like I mean,
Yeah.
and actually, I did this the other day because we were just talking about it. I went back and watched. On social media you can watch your archives, right?
Yeah.
You can go back to a certain time period and see that.
You can kind of see it.
Oh my God, I was crying on my stories. I was raw, vulnerable. Like I was totally open about my struggles.
So maybe more than just the training.
Yeah. So like, I think what really helped me get through that is I was so open and unfiltered and raw. And then in addition, I was very clear. Like there was a lot of workouts. I sat there and just cried for 30 minutes before I even started the workout.
Yeah.
But again, I knew like, hey, working out and just doing something for myself can help me get through this. And so, I used to work out at nighttime, which I totally switched around. I'm a morning person. I'm an early riser.
Morning crew right here.
Yeah. I mean, if you told me I had to work out at night, I would be like, oh no.
I'm stronger at night. I'm a lot stronger at night.
I have more pep in my step.
It's just like the impact in my day when I do it in the morning.
It helps. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of science behind that.
Brain
we can go into that, but
yeah,
it's just like, I remember so many times just sitting in the shop, just crying and working through those emotions and then working out. And honestly, what truly saved me was the ability to dive into my own transformation, because I was that overweight mom. Like I'm 5'1". I'm a I'm a tiny little guy. And like I gained 60 pounds, both pregnancies, and my first one was an emergency C-section. So like, I mean, they ripped me right open. Like it wasn't a pretty scar. And then the second one, I was like, hey, you want to give me a tummy tuck while you're down there?
Right.
Like so this is scheduled.
Yeah.
But I was that mom that was uncomfortable in my skin, but like I didn't want to be that mom that was afraid to rock a bikini on a beach and play with my kids. I didn't want to be like, I'm a boy's mom. And my boys are rough and tumble. Like seriously, I've come to the conclusion that it's my job to keep my kids alive. Like, one day my kids.
Off of things.
Well, they figured out they can jump from the top of the shop onto the trampoline. So that's the newest adventure.
Yeah, luckily they're made out of rubber.
And then where do they go?
Yeah, and then they go flying up. And luckily we have nets around the trampoline.
Yeah,
we did
I left my kids for like 2 hours when we first moved into this new house that has like a second story that's open to the living room, and so there's like a railing right for the second floor down. I come back and the giant big bag chair that I bought for guests, because you can unzip it and there's a bed in it, is underneath and they're just like, we've been jumping off. I'm like, what
yeah.
Like, I thought you were old enough to be left for 2 hours.
Nope.
Left to their own devices.
Yep, no, it is. Yeah, job to keep them alive.
Yeah, so
boys
like,
are nuts.
Yeah, with both my boys, like my biggest thing is I wanted to be that hands-on mom. Like I remember this one time, the boys, my oldest is in 6th grade, and so they were playing football. They're starting to get to know girls a little bit.
Yep.
and they were playing a football game, you know, just a bunch of his buddies, and all the moms were standing there and the dads, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go play with him, and it was tackle. I mean, I had no problem tackling them because they took me out. They would drop their shoulder and just come full force at me. And so I was out there playing with them and stuff, and it just like the smile on my son's face, the fact that his mom was out there, all the kids were laughing, and then you just look back at all these parents that, you know, didn't want to play because they were injury or, over, like, just wanted because they didn't feel comfortable. And it's like, I never want to be that mom. I never want to say no to my child because of my own insecurities. And that's why I believe so much in a fitness transformation, is because, like, you're unlayering, you're discovering more about yourself in that process. And, and it's an adventure. It's really, there's no end to that journey. And as you start to dive into it, you learn this new abilities about yourself. You gain confidence. There's just so much you unearth that you didn't even know that you had in you. And so it's just like it all happens with the fitness journey because you just challenge yourself to that next level. It's not just about picking up a weight, and going to that next heavier weight. It's about working through the shit and getting in, choosing to show up for yourself continuously.
Yeah.
And and you can tie that to your career. You can tie that to religion. You can tie that to so many other aspects of your life as well. Is like, there's going to be times where it's hard, and it's going to suck to keep showing up for yourself, but you learn so much more by continuing to show up for yourself about who you truly are.
I agree with that 100%. The idea of progressive overload, right?
Oh, I love teaching that.
Yeah, progressive overload is a concept within weight training where you just increase the weight a little bit every time that you show up so that you can continue to get stronger and stronger and stronger. But just like you're saying, it applies in every aspect of life.
And I actually can give you a nugget. So progressive overload was taught like where you started with a lighter weight or medium weight and then went to your max at the end. Flip that.
Yeah.
So if you start with your max weight in the beginning and hit muscle failure sooner in your workout and then go lighter, you will build muscle mass and shred fat faster.
Yeah, because you stay closer to failure. Yeah. Great stuff.
That's kind of the natural way I always trained anyway. So.
So
get it out of the way.
I was going to say one thing though, and I wish I could like quote the study or whatever, but I could have even been Huberman. I was listening to this on.
Oh boy.
But just talking about what happens in your brain when you do something that you really don't want to do.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
That
right.
was that?
Which is
That's
kind
Huberman
of
as well. Hit on that.
Pre-cingulate cortex.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Brain area.
See, he remembers the
strengthens that part of the brain.
Yeah, and I mean
love
that for me was a big reason why I started cold therapy before cold water therapy was a thing. Really, is because I learned and read about that, and I'd been going through separation and divorce, and like trying to get fit after my son, because I also gained 60 pounds with both of my kids, and it was incredible to me the benefit that I felt mentally, and but that's also what I going to the gym and fitness is. It's like thinking about training this muscle, the brain, to like I can survive hard things. Like I can do hard
Powerful
things.
muscle,
I can push this. I can push this. And if you just take a moment to think about that, how that's going to play out in your regular everyday life. When you have a huge loss at work. Like I have right now in my real big girl day job. There's a big change going on in our team. Like it's all for the good at the end of the day, but someone that's really pivotal to our team is moving to a different market. And like we've been on the same team from the beginning. We started within 1 month of each other. Like we're together to be number one. You know what I mean? And so it's like when things like that hit, that you're like, okay, what's coming? I don't know what's around the bend or whatever it may be. The longer you've spent in this habit of fitness, I believe the more likely you are to be able to come and head those challenges head on with this almost the subconscious knowing that you've got it because you've told your brain over and over and over again, day after day, I can do hard things. I can survive hard things. This is not going to kill me.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
100%.
So my question is, and maybe this is a question that the audience is asking as well, so we've talked a little bit about fitness in general, but you're focused specifically on the agricultural community.
Yes.
So what are the major differences, and what kind of programs, or what would the differences in programming be like from a general population versus people that are in the agricultural community?
Well, before I launched my firm fit training, I did a CrossFit program.
Yeah.
And now the girl that actually did the CrossFit program is all bougie. She's a lonely page or a fans only page now.
Oh man.
I mean, whatever. Her name's Christmas Abbott. If you guys want to know,
She sells fans. She sells fans.
Yeah, she's on OnlyFans.
She only sells fans.
OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Because I need to get a ceiling fan for my room.
Nothing else. Yeah.
PG-13 here.
Yeah.
But when I did her program, it wasn't sustainable. It was 45 minutes long. There was an insane amount of equipment that was needed. It just didn't work for my lifestyle. And so that's the biggest thing with Farm Fit training is like I really hone into that lifestyle aspect because I live it.
Yeah.
I'm on a 5th generation farm. Like I understand it. I'm out there driving the tractors. Granted, I've been replaced, but by my children. But I understand the demand and how agriculture works. And and agriculture is a big industry. Like it's the backbone of the world.
Yeah.
Without agriculture, none of us would function. Like the food system would crash. And and it's not just agriculture; it's the people that are tied in rural America. The industries are tied, so it's a lot bigger industry than you think.
Yeah.
And so for me, I knew it had to be quick and effective. The biggest complaint, is time. A lot of people don't have time.
Well, if you're on a farm, you're
sun
kind
up
of in
to
the middle
sundown,
of nowhere.
Yeah.
And so like to drive to a gym that's like an hour away.
45 minutes for me.
Yeah, it's like
45 minutes.
what's the point? And if you don't have your own home gym, then so essentially what I'm hearing is convenience is the name of the game.
And you had your own home gym before, or is that correct?
I had it before, but it burnt down with the house.
Yeah, so now you're forced to do
I got creative. I was using random tires and weights and stuff like that. So like a lot of people don't realize like you could utilize a lot of things around your house.
Yeah.
And like a farmyard is a CrossFit haven. Really,
Yeah,
if you
I
think
bet.
about it,
Yeah.
you could go out
it
there on
is.
the barn, do some pull-ups.
Yeah.
It takes that little creativity to
I don't know. It
tap
feels
into that.
feels like a scene from a steamy farm novella I read once. Like dudes in the barn just sweating.
Wasn't
this,
sweating.
the Rocky movie when he's out in
Yeah.
the,
That's right. No, I what is it? I've seen actually a video of a guy who like made his own weights using like basically he would pour concrete into the Home Depot buckets and put like
I've
different,
seen that.
and
Yeah.
you make his own equipment, which is super cool. But like not everybody
Kettlebells.
wants to do that, right?
I mean,
So-
obviously you can buy gym or weights because like but when I launched my business or tapped into it, like weights were non-existent.
Yeah.
Everybody was buying it in 2020.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Like even into
Seriously.
2021, like
Mhm.
you still couldn't get weights because everybody was buying it.
Yeah.
So like I mean, I got super creative using tires and weights and stuff around the farm. And that's the biggest thing is like talking about your brain again. Your brain is a powerhouse. It's the strongest muscle in your body. It
Yeah.
really is. And a lot of people forget about that, and they forget like they hit one hiccup and it's like comes crashing to them,
Mhm.
and they don't know how to pivot. They don't know how to work around it. And so like when you dive into a fitness journey, you learn how to adapt and move and go and roll with the punches and stay on top of your toes. And so it was I naturally went into that. And so going back to your question is like in the agriculture space, I understand time. Time is money. We don't have an 8 to 5 job. It's a 24/7 job. And I wanted to make it quick and effective. So going back to a case study, I actually read this scientific journal before I launched Farm Fit Training, and it took these two groups of people. It took 50-50. The first 50 group of people, they did the same movements, 4 workouts, but they had to do 3 or 4 rounds, and they had to get it done within 15 to 25 minutes. Then it took this, and you see where I'm going.
Yeah.
And they took this other group of people, and they had to work out for 45 minutes to an hour. And again, they had this group. They both had a high protein diet. Like those all were controlled, and they had protocols with all that stuff. But the only thing different was the weight training, like the sessions, like the length of the sessions. And the group that had the shorter amount of time actually lost muscle or built muscle faster and lost fat quicker than the group that didn't. Had to go for a longer amount of time.
So they're focused on the intensity.
Correct.
Getting it done, and
So
then
they're
move on.
They're
Hit workouts,
yes,
yeah.
progressive overload,
Yeah.
what we just talked about.
Yeah.
So it was just like you don't need to work out 45 minutes an hour. A lot of times like people think, oh, I didn't get a good workout in because it was only 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you can do a lot of damage in 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Trust me.
Really
You
can.
know, on that
Oh, yeah.
same note, there's a guy
Yeah.
here that I work with who is like hasn't been going to the gym, and he's like, "Hey, can you help me build a program?" And I'm like, "Okay, well, why haven't you been going?" He's like, "Well, I just don't want to spend a lot of time in the gym." And so I'm like, "All right, well, essentially, he's only doing 2 sets of 2 exercises per day, like essentially like and he's at Planet Fitness, right? And they're somewhat limited with the equipment that they have. So like he's essentially doing Smith machine squats, Smith machine Romanian deadlifts on one day, and then he's doing close grip bench press and then pull-ups the other day, and he's only doing 2 sets of 10. But he's able to go in, knock it out in like basically 10, 15 minutes, and then get out of there. And he basically has been going every single day since we built the program together. And it's like, it's small things like that where it's like, if the thing that's preventing someone from doing it, of adhering to their program, because really at the end of the day, adherence is the most important thing.
Yeah.
With
taking
working
the
out.
excuses out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like just saying like and I feel like that's a problem with a lot of trainers is they try to just fit you into a box that you don't fit into.
Overcomplicate it.
Exactly. And it's like you just need to build a program for the person and then they will succeed.
What I did wrong when I was a trainer, back in the day, what I did wrong is
you were a trainer?
Yeah. But yeah, I'm like 40-something years old now. But 20 years ago, so I brought my parents in and trained them, like way overtrained them.
I'm just imagining Donna.
You know, you're a 20-year-old, and you're like, oh yeah, check this out. And you know what I mean? So I bring him in, like, you have to train really hard. And I probably
You're not doing
like
full
an hour
room.
and 10-minute workout or something.
Oh my gosh.
And I felt bad because like it was just too much.
And they're probably
it put
so sore.
Yeah, it was so bad on
Oh
them. So,
no.
but yeah, one of the things I do now, it's actually called dog crap training. I don't know if you've ever heard that before.
No.
It's really cool though, but it's I'm sharing it because it gets you through it quickly, right?
Yeah.
It's basically a rest pause system. If you know what rest pause, it's where you go in. I start with a heavy weight, right? I do my warm up, right? Mike Izzer talks about this, right? You go in there, warm up, and then I go right to my heaviest weight. And the rest pause is where you lift as much as you can, you rest for a very short period, and then you do your next set.
Like 10
right?
seconds.
So that's what we
15
do in farm
seconds.
fit training.
Really? Yeah.
So
I love that. by the way.
So the best way to warm up is actually to run through your workout without weights.
Yeah.
And I would tell people all the time, like, don't overcomplicate your warm up.
Exactly.
You just need to get a good
warmed up.
slight sweat broke, and then you're good.
Yep.
But that's literally what we do in farm fit training is like the program I created. So I have multiple programs. I actually just created a plyometrics program. No, it's not coming out anytime soon, but it's there. So it's shortening down your rest period and keeping your heart rate high.
Yeah.
Is the biggest key component. So like when you work out, like for example, a HIIT style training. So I actually do functional hybrid training is what I do, or not BRID. And it's basically you're moving quickly through the whole workout and you're keeping the tempo up, which helps your heart rate stay higher. And so like, we have clients that go into like an upper body workout and all of a sudden their heart rate's getting to 153, 154 because they're moving quickly between the rest periods. So like the rest periods in my training are like 10 to 15 seconds. That's it. And then you're back into the move. And it's simple. It's uncomplicating it. It's like, a deadlift works. It doesn't matter what training program you're in. It's exact same, but it's all about the methodology behind it. And so like kind of going to what you're talking about is like, I don't overcomplicate it. You're going to do 4 to 5 movements.
Yeah.
And, but I do have it broken up into days where it's like one day you're doing upper body, next day you're doing lower body, and then you're doing a HIIT style, and then you're back to upper body, lower body. So like in my program, it's 5 workouts a week with 2 rest days because rest days are super important because that's where your muscles rebuild, repair. Like we can go into that in a second, but it's quick and effective. So like it's really keeping that tempo up through your whole workout and hitting failure faster. And then by the time you walk away from it, you're like, holy cow, I just did
I've got to check
minutes.
it out because, like, for instance, my wife, she'd probably love that, right?
I bet.
She actually does like shows, like
very
like figure, like
bodybuilding, like bikini,
bodybuilding on stage. Kudos to her.
Well, and she, it's funny. She's self-proclaimed she hates training, but she loves staying in shape, and so that's why she does it. I don't think she hates it, but it's like her way of saying I'm working really hard.
It's something that grows on you over time. It's like you start it and it's like it's painful, but then it's a pain that you seek out, and then you're like, am I a
and it's gratification.
Like, what's going on?
Well, gratification too. Like you're putting all this time into it, and so now you get to show for it and go on stage.
I can tell you from watching her, she won't admit this. When she's training regularly, she's a happy person. When she's not
there's a lot of science to that.
When she's not training regularly, it's like it's a slow downhill.
Yeah.
And it's like I try to remind her of that, but she does really good.
But
But
you can't do that as a husband, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
I wouldn't recommend it.
I know. I'm learning this, okay? You know? No, but I love that style of training because like we'll go in there and we used to do, like 2 to 5 minute rest periods, right? Because if you're trying to train for like being strong, right? That's kind of the way to do it is longer rest periods, heavy weight, big sets, right? But when we started doing the dog crab training, basically what you're training.
I've never heard it called
why is
that.
it called dog crab?
Yeah, why is it?
I don't think that's
It's
the
dog
actual
shit
name
training,
of it.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. It's actually a style of training a lot of bodybuilders use, right? But it's not as well known. But we go in there and train, and we normally would have an hour workout, and we got like the same amount of body parts done in about 30. We got done. We're like, holy crap! We did a lot of sets, got through a lot of movements, right? And then we had 30 minutes left, right?
Which is very
so you can
intense.
actually in your week you can do a lot of body parts and get a lot more volume in that way,
Yeah.
So I work a lot of body parts, but like I mean, it's quick and effective.
Yeah.
Like my name or your dog shit.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is like
technical term. Okay.
it's only like 3 to 4 rounds.
Yeah.
And it's like the rep range, the volume, it's a lot shorter. So it's like 8 to 10, like or 6 to 8, or 10 to 12. I don't go over 15, and there's actually science behind that, and I can explain that in a minute. But like, it's you're going through like, okay, so like a case in point, I actually posted a free workout online in my channel, but like it was, I don't know, 5 movements, and you did it for 30 seconds, and then there was no rest periods. You just flew through it. It was a body weight. It was calisthenics, because I was doing it in the hotel room. And so I had a couple ladies message me after they did it, and they're like, I hate you, but I love you. Like,
yeah,
you just like literally humbled me, and I usually work out 45 minutes a day.
Yeah.
So it's a part of that mentality too, is a lot of people think, oh, I have to work out so long in the gym to see results. But they forget the nutrition. We haven't even talked about nutrition.
No, we haven't.
Oh my gosh.
To touch just really briefly on what you're saying, it literally takes so little stimulus to see gain. Like even if you work out once a week consistently, you're going to benefit from that.
Yeah.
100%.
Period. So if you're struggling with this at home and you're just like, I can't commit to it, just commit to once a week and then improve from there. Because like, even if you're doing it once, you're going to see benefits.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you do. Like,
well, yeah.
So
Israel talked about that too. Keep bringing him up. But you can actually get to a pretty fit state and then go to where you're maintaining with one
way
or 2
less
workouts
volume.
a week,
Yeah.
So
yeah, it takes much less than you think. So, but yeah, let's dive into the nutrition side of things. Cause like, honestly, when people say like because the majority of people want to lose weight, right? You have this, and the common saying is calories in, calories out. And
that's old.
I think that most people, when they hear that, they want to focus on calories out. They want to run more. They want to do.
Oh yeah, those runners. I despise people that are runners.
I don't really like running personally.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, they're just so like. There's a lot of mental work that goes into that. A ton.
But I feel like with weight loss specifically, like the food that you put in, calories in, right? I think that has an outsized effect on the actual outcome. So
it's
nutrition.
so much easier to control that than to try to burn a ton of calories.
Yeah, exactly. And like we adapt, and our bodies are smart. They want to like become more efficient.
Well, I mean, your body regenerates every 30 days or 20. Well, technically 21 to 28 days. You have to think about this. Like your body regenerates itself from your skin to or like it literally regenerates itself. Turnover in 21 to 28 days. And so a lot of people don't realize that. And when you talk about nutrition, actually, if you're going to start into anything, before you even start into exercise, I would say start into nutrition first.
100%.
Because nutrition is the hardest thing for people to grasp. And once you start into nutrition and kind of starting to understand that, you get that momentum going, then start to incorporate training.
Now you simplify it, right? You do macros.
I do. So the reason I love macros is first and foremost, it's a flexible, it's not a diet. It's a nutrition theory. I hate the word diet.
I hate the word diet. Yep,
diet, when I hear the word diet, I think of restrictive instantly. It's like,
and so does everybody else, which is why it's not the thing you want to say, because you don't want to start this with it coming from like something's being taken away from me.
Yeah. And then the next thing you know, that thing that's taken away is, guess what? You're going to crave it.
The only thing you can think about.
It's like you dream about it. It's like, oh my God, I'm going to have it. So like, how I explain macronutrients is it's a nutrition theory. So you're focusing on the value of foods in large amounts, protein, carbs, and fats. Because first and foremost, we need protein. Protein is the number one macronutrient because your whole entire body exists of protein from every cell in your body. And it helps with muscle growth, repair. There's so many amazing things. And then carbohydrates, you need carbs. Carbs are like your gas tank in your vehicle. Like you can't put gasoline in a tractor and expect it to run smooth. You need to put the right carbs in your body. Exact same thing. You need to put diesel on a tractor and then it's going to be able to operate.
Yeah, we've actually had a guest. Who was it? I think it was, he was talking about recently about Alzheimer's. And he specifically talked about how carbs are, they're the, Dr. Carr. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they break down to glucose and I'm sure you went all into that.
Yeah. And that the brain is, the primary fuel source of the brain is carbs. Right?
Yeah.
And
glucose.
Yeah. Anyways.
Yep. And then that's the thing too, is like, there's that carnivore diet that everybody talks about, it focuses on, or even keto, focuses on high protein and fats.
Right.
There's got to be a balance. Like your body needs carbs. And then, obviously healthy fats is the ticker into that. And so like, I love educating and teaching people that because it's truly a sustainable system. Once you start to understand it and feel your body, and first and foremost, all our bodies are unique. Like my macros are not going to be the same as yours or hers, or like they're going to be 100% better because we're one of a kind. Yeah. Like our bodies are one of a kind. And so going into the science of that, I love educating it because like in agriculture, I teach them like, hey, you can cook one meal and hit your macros, but you can feed your whole family off that one meal as well. So you're not cooking a separate meal for yourself, because that's another biggest thing is when you start a fitness journey, a lot of people struggle because all of a sudden they're cooking a separate meal for themselves and their family's over here eating something totally different. Yeah. And so how I educate it is I more approach it with high protein meals. Yeah. So I have a library of over 1,000 macro friendly meals that you can cook that kids will love. And it's farm approved. My kids eat it. And, I can squeeze it by different sides or different toppings to fit my macros, but it's a healthy meal that I can cook one time and the whole family eats it. Yeah. And so again, that's more sustainable. People are more adapted to wanting to know more about that because it's like, okay, I'm not having to cook a separate meal for myself. I'm able to feed my whole family and it becomes a family affair.
And so it's exhausting.
So do you use a macro tracker then, or do you?
It's in my app. I have my own app. I don't know.
Congratulations.
Yes. It was a beast to launch. Oh my God. Speaking of which, tech just told me that they're shutting it down because they have to do an update. But I was like, okay,
whatever.
Whatever you
gotta do.
I'm like, you do your thing. I pay you for it. Yeah. Just go.
I will say, when I started tracking my macros, we had a whole conversation with our with Dr. Jones.
Dr. Jones.
Every time.
And when I started tracking my macros, it really opened up so many possibilities for me where it's just like, I'm not guessing anymore. I know exactly what I need.
And you feel better.
Yeah, you feel better. You have more flexibility. And I'll be honest, I'm going to say something that I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for, maybe even in this room.
Boo.
Go ahead.
I'm
going to boo you.
Well, me and John have talked about it, and we kind of laughed about
it. I'm intrigued.
So being able to track my macros opens me up to be able to eat fast food. So like I'll be honest, before
healthy fast food. He's good with it.
It depends, essentially before this podcast, I had Taco Bell, which I absolutely love. But it's like I go onto the nutrition calculator and I was trying to look through the meal menu and I'm like, okay, which one of these has the highest protein to calorie ratio? And the one that's the most convenient and is
Taco Bell.
Taco Bell is the chicken quesadilla. Yeah. That's it. It has it's
I don't
got
hate you for that.
It's got a great protein calorie ratio.
But here's the thing. He's not saying only eat fast food.
Absolutely
not.
But you can definitely eat some fast food.
Right. It's easier
so
to
the
work
flexibility part of it.
Yep.
That's
so instead of like depriving yourself of food, it's like whatever fits in my macros.
Yep.
Obviously, you're not going to want to go to fast food joints all the time. But at the same time, you can have that and still hit your goals and still see progress. And that's the biggest thing is like everybody thinks it has to be this perfect course. It has to be this all for all. Like you have to go both feet in. And that's why people get on that hamster wheel of diet culture and relapse is because it's not sustainable.
So that's where
it's part of life.
And I lost 30 pounds eating Taco Bell. Not only Taco Bell, but
so that's where
okay, disregard that statement.
Where that came from was if bodybuilding.com back in the day. You ever heard of IIFYM?
No.
If it fits your macros, right?
Oh,
there used to be the clean eating. There was like a battle once, right?
Was it intense? Did
A lot
people die?
Deaths in bodybuilding.com. Anyway,
that's
where everyone used to gather to like talk about nutrition
like
and stuff back then.
like
I
the
think
Council of Nicene.
they just shut down the forums, by the way.
Oh,
Really?
A lot of people
That's a bummer.
don't know about it, but that's where all the fitness people used to go back in the day, right?
I have to admit, I did in early 2000.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the platform.
The place. So it was
Yeah.
IIFYM and clean eating that battled, right? And
Mm.
there shouldn't have been a battle because they were kind of saying the same thing, right?
Yeah.
But it was people going on bodybuilding.com, and the question they would ask is, "Can I eat this?" Right? And it would just be whatever, like, "Can I eat a Snickers or can I eat this or that?" And then the response was IIFYM, if it fits your macros, you know. And the idea behind that is basically like, look, you can eat whatever you want. Not meaning like eat whatever you want all the time.
Yeah.
You can eat, you can fit whatever you want.
80% needs to be
You can fit
clean.
it into your
Right,
yeah, exactly.
right. Well, and we've talked about this before, and so I'm curious to hear. Well, knowing that you have it built into your app, like obviously, I'm assuming it's something that you have make a part of your coaching. But I know a lot of people feel a lot of resistance to the idea of tracking their macros. Right? It's like, oh, it's one more thing I have to do, blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, you know what? Yeah, you could probably find some success by doing things like not eating grains. Like you still get some carbs, I'm just not having grains or whatever. Like you're going to see some progress. But for me personally, I will admit I was one of those people that like, oh my God, one more thing for me to do, which is real. I'm a single mom with a full-time job and a side hustle or 5, you know, like at the time thinking about counting my macros was just like, no, thank you. Absolutely not. But when I finally did it a few years back and like got an app or whatever, it really was just educational because
I was hoping you were going to go there.
Because there are so many
I was gonna
things
ask
that
you about
I'm
that.
like eating, like my regular things that I eat, and that I'm like, I did not realize that I had that many carbohydrates in it.
Yeah.
Like I don't need that much, So it was, do I count my macros all day, every day? Absolutely not. Do I try to know what I'm eating? Like, especially if it's something that's always in my fridge or always in my pantry. Yes, I want to know what those are because then I can just kind of mentally, roughly estimate like where I'm at and what I need. So I'm curious what your philosophy is. Are you like you always need to be counting your macros, or just start getting an idea? Okay,
I'll just stop you right there.
Just go.
No.
I like that. Yeah.
Well, the biggest thing is like, okay, let's talk about society. Society, if you go to any function, any social function, what is it always geared around? Alcohol and food. Alcohol and food. Yep. And so the biggest thing a lot of people struggle with is they don't realize they actually have an emotional attachment to food. Everybody does.
For sure.
I don't care who you are. Like if you put a box of hot tamales on that table, I will demolish that sucker. Doesn't even matter how big it is. Like that's my trigger food.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've trained myself like, I'm like, do I really need that? Am I getting nutrients out of that? And so with calculating macros, you need a track record. You need to understand nutrition. You need to understand what you're putting in your body and why you got to the point you are at. And if you don't have a track record, how are you going to ever know? And so like a lot of my men clientele, for example, I train both men and women and couples, excuse me. And I'll tell you, my men think they eat all this protein. They're like, I'm a carnivore girl. Like you have no idea. And I can't tell you how many of them super undereat when it comes to protein.
Yeah.
Because they don't know. So you have to be humbled enough in the beginning to track. You have to, hands down. Because you have to give yourself an ideal of what that looks like and what you're actually putting in your body. And the best way to do it is tracking. Same with progressive overload. You have to track. You have to be able to look back and be like, this is it. And then it starts to make you purchase healthier foods. Like I bet you started changing how you went to the grocery store and purchased for your family because you're like more well aware of like, maybe I don't want that in the house. Like, okay, so my boys, they don't drink pop soda or whatever you guys call it here, pop or soda. It's just because that's not something that I've never had in the house. And now they're milkaholics. We drink whole milk a lot. We can go on that discussion of whole milk. And so like, a lot of people shy away from example whole milk because it's higher in fat, but that's healthy. Like your body knows how to break it fat. That's saturated fat, but your body knows how to break it down and process it better than 2%, 1% or fat free. Because when they take the fat out, they have to put, not a chemical. I don't want to say chemical there because people are going to freak out, but they put
chemicals.
They put back, like fillers basically back into milk to make it complete. And so if you go to the raw source, your body knows how to break it down better. So like I'm going to actually encourage everybody to start drinking whole milk. Well, hands down.
Yeah. And you probably know the science behind this, Renee, but I feel like also the other downside is when you take the fat out of it, all that you're left with is the carbs, and the really high sugary carbs. And so if you're gonna have just like high sugary carbs, whatever, without any fat, it's more likely to spike your blood sugar faster, which obviously is gonna, so it's higher glycemic index essentially. So when you have the fat with it, you're gonna have a more regulated blood sugar. Whereas if I think there was like a study years ago I read, like diabetic patients drinking 1% milk. Yeah, drinking 1% milk and being like, why is my blood sugar spiking? Well, it's because like it's full of carbs, and it's not like never have it, carbs are bad, but it's like when you don't have the fat in there to slow all that down, that's what you're gonna get. Is
like animal fat is really good for you.
Super good for you.
Like, don't shy away from it. And again, I'm not a fan. Like, I'm not a carnivore person. Like, I still believe in carbs over here, but like,
I will say, like, when you're talking about the guys that were like, oh, I'm a carnivore, I don't have any problem eating. But like, because I kind of went through that too. I'm like, oh, I feel like I eat a lot of protein. And we have like some beef sticks that we eat here, right? And that are good, that are really yummy.
Super high fat beef
but
sticks.
But that's the thing is, I think
you guys Dakota beer bison. Sorry.
So many people, like when they eat these, they just think, they look at it like, this is a meat stick, so it must be protein. And it's like, you actually look at it, and like, I'm not ragging on fat whatsoever.
Yeah.
But the thing about fat is that the gram or the calories per gram, it's
different.
It's
9.
basically double the amount of everything else. And so like, if you eat a whole thing of butter, that's probably going to sate you. But like, it's one of those things where
moderation,
eating even eating a small amount of fat, the amount of calories that are in that is huge. And like, not to demonize it whatsoever, because you need fats, absolutely need fats for
women,
your hormonal,
especially.
To be able to work properly. But it's like, you need to be smart about how you distribute your fats so that you feel satiated.
Should I give you guys some training today?
Yeah, let's do it.
You guys ready? I'll give you a hint. Macronutrients. Let's talk about it. So a lot of times you get your macro profile, and I'll tell you my split. So right now I'm 150 grams of protein, 100, I think 30 or 25, 130, 125, somewhere around there for carbohydrates. And then women, ladies, your fats need to be between 50 to 60 grams. It needs to be like hormonal, like healthy fats not only cushion your organs, they help cell brain integrity. I mean, there's so much you need to have higher fats. And then men, obviously yours is going to be a lot different as well. But how I teach macros, you guys are going to be pros after this. I'm not kidding. So I actually created this. So when I first got introduced to macros, it was like, how the hell am I going to hit 150 grams of protein in a day? Like, how does that break down? Like, am I focusing on 30 grams?
So much.
Like 40 grams for breakfast? Like, I mean, like, I don't understand it. And so how I teach it in Farm Fit training, which I've never made this public unless you were a client, is you focus on the macro goal percentages. Do you guys know what I mean here? So like my split is 35, 35, 30.
Gotcha.
Okay. So 30
Those
is fats, 35 is carbohydrates, and 35 is protein.
Okay.
And so when I'm creating a meal to hit my goal macros, I'm not focusing on the grams. I'm focusing on my goal macro percentage split. Okay. So let's say I'm creating a breakfast. I'm going to have 2 eggs, sourdough toast. Maybe I'm going to, if you've never tried cottage cheese in your eggs, highly recommend it. It is absolutely fantastic. I promise you'll never want to go back.
Plus the whey protein in cottage cheese.
Yeah. I've never done whey protein, but
well, I mean, there's whey in.
Whey.
Oh yeah,
no way,
man. There's no casein and all whey, right?
Yeah. So like,
what's the case, Ian?
Oh
yeah, that's not
yeah.
We're geeking out. Sorry, keep going.
Back to what I was saying. Focus, guys. Focus. Squirrel.
Good job.
But like whatever you create for your breakfast. So I always encourage clients to create 3 breakfast meals for themselves. And we have like breakfast burritos that I give to them in the app. Like I give them ideals, oatmeal recipes, overnight oatmeal recipes, smoothie recipes, whatever your cup of tea is. So you basically take that recipe and you fit it within your goal macro percentages. And then once you create 3 meals, then we move on to lunch, create those 3 meals. And then you move on to snacks, and then dinner, again, it's super easy. You cook 1 meal for the whole family, because that's when we always eat dinner, 6 o'clock every night at my house as a family. Like my husband's super strict about that. And so we could eat dinner together, and it's really easy to fit that in your goal macro percentages. If you hit your goal macro percentages per meal, at the end of the day, guess what? You'll be plus or minus by 10 grams of your overall macro profile.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's seriously game changer, and it breaks it down so much simple. And the biggest thing here is like, once you create this meal plan for yourself, because you're eating foods that you like, whatever breakfast is, lunch is, dinner is, you get so comfortable with that, you get confident to explore outside that and try new foods and try new things and add. And next thing you know, you become a pro. And so back to your question, do I track macros all the time? Absolutely not, because my body knows.
Yeah.
It knows when I'm low on water. It knows when I'm low on protein. Like, I don't even have to tell it, because your body's this amazing mechanism, and it'll get to the point where it'll just tell you.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, like right now I'm in my bulk stage. Like, I'm trying to put on more muscle mass, but like when I do go into a cut, am really strict about tracking my macros and really honing in on that.
Yep.
We're in that winter arc. I'm
Yeah.
bulking
Well, and I just actually covered up, so not a podcast. I call them Farmcast and Farm Fit Training.
Yeah.
And so once a month I do educational hour-long where I educate clients. And if you're a member of my program, you can log on, and they're all recorded, so you can go back and listen to the recording as well. And this month I talked about root vegetables and immunity, and like building your natural defense system to fight colds and flus, you know. And I talked about a few supplements like zinc you can add into your diet, you know, vitamin D, because we're not getting a lot of sun, you know, and something like whole milk vitamin D. Hello. You know, so like I went over all of that, and, you know, and talked about nutrition and stuff, and how people can combat, you know, and build up their immunity during this time when, you know, we're not getting much sun, and we're kind of cooped up indoors. So it's really cool. I love the science. I just love educating. And I promise you guys, if you guys focus on your goal macro percentages, you guys will text me and be like, I freaking love you.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, you know what's funny is I have something similar to that.
Like, what's your split?
So my split, actually, I pulled it up. So it's
I know.
So I'm at basically 2,400 calories, 211 grams of protein, 80 grams of fats, and then 222 grams of carbs. And kind of like what I've seen, and kind of, because like 200 grams of protein, what is it, 211? Like,
what do you weigh?
I weigh currently about 230, a little bit less than 230.
So I would actually adjust your macros, and I can do your macro calculation. I'll even do it old school and draw it out for you.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
So you're too low on protein. Your
Where are you at on protein? What did you say, 200?
200.
What's a 146?
So much protein.
There's ways to help with that.
Today.
Yeah.
You have like a 1575, 79. Is that when you're cut? Or
No. This is how much I've consumed today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
The little milk.
Yeah,
but
you should. I'll do your
protein.
But essentially, the way that I view this is my protein split is it's roughly 1/10 of what my calorie split is, right? So anything that I'm eating, I try to look at the calorie to protein ratio, and if I'm not getting 10 grams of protein per calorie, or what, maybe I got that split. 1 gram of protein per 10 calories. It's like, that's not really worth my time. So when I see protein bars that aren't in that 10-to-1 ratio, I'm like, that's not a protein bar.
The vast majority of protein bars
are not protein bars.
Yeah, I was
really
going to say,
bad.
I have a really good protein bar that I can recommend. I'm not a protein bar girl. I'm actually like a meat stick. So we were talking about meat stick earlier. Dakota Pure Bison. This is not an ad, I promise you guys. But like, I'm all about like buying directly from the farmer or the rancher. And so this company actually is based out of Winter, South Dakota. And they not only raise the bison, they butcher it and ship it directly to your house. And bison meat is so fantastic for you. It's super lean. It's great. Like one little beef stick is like 15 grams of protein.
Wow. Nice.
And like 0.1 grams of fat.
The name of the company?
Dakota Pure Bison.
Pure Bison.
Yeah,
Bison.
Okay.
I do have a code with them, but
And
again,
now
this is not an ad.
Look at the camera and wink when you say that.
Dakota Pure Bison, but like, there's noodles and stuff I can recommend. I mean, there's so much stuff that I recommend to clients, but the biggest thing is like, a lot of people when they start in nutrition, they overcomplicate it. Start small. You know, don't try to create a whole menu in one day. Start with a breakfast. Create just even your breakfast. Just have a great breakfast that is high in protein. That you know, you can fill yourself in, that has complex carbohydrates, healthy fats, and you know, a great source of protein. And just start there. You know, don't try to swallow the whole elephant all at once.
Right.
Take it bit.
Well, don't you think even just like start tracking your macros, what you're eating right now?
Yeah,
like,
well, and that's what I do.
Like before, like, because I think a lot of people get overwhelmed with like, here's this whole, and we gotta make all this food, and here's your meal plan. Like, I did that plenty of times, you know, early on in my fitness journey. Like, oh, I'm gonna buy this program, and they send me the food thing, and I'm like, I don't like any of this stuff, and this is too much, and it's overwhelming, right?
Or you can't eat enough food.
Yeah, but I feel like just like just start tracking what you're eating
Yeah.
today and do it for a couple weeks and just to start gaining more awareness.
You can even do that just in your day. So what I loved about macros is you can start, like you said, you can just eat breakfast, track it, right?
Yeah.
Or
That's
even
what
just
I mean.
protein.
And-
even if you just track protein,
That's true.
like that's a great
Yeah, or
start.
protein and calories in general, right?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
you get to lunch, you track it. You can do that for most of the day, and then come about like 3:00, you look at your macros and you see what's left, and you know what to kind of fit in.
And there's a lot of free apps out there too. Like,
Yeah.
you know, MyFitnessPal or Macroactive is another great free app that you can. And so in farm fit training, yes, we do. A lot of clients in the first week, I don't even give them any kind of nutrition guidance. I have them track with just what they eat.
Yeah.
Just to get an ideal. And I will promise you guys, everybody undereats when it comes to protein and overeats when it comes to carbohydrates.
Mm-hmm.
Or fats, honestly.
Carbs,
That's me.
actually, carbs
For
are
me, I'm a
way
fats guy.
higher.
Yeah, I'm
because
a
I'll eat like
fats
4 eggs
girl
in the
too.
morning. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm way more likely to go over on fats, and like
Yeah,
there's been times
100%.
where I've done like carb cycling and I've had like super low fat, higher carb days. I am a mean person on those days. Like my body is like fats, let's go. I can do fine, no
But
carbs.
carb cycling is so bad unless you're a professional athlete.
Yeah, no.
there's
This was years
need.
ago. This was years ago, but that's when I really learned.
Yeah.
And
Fats
so,
are just so yummy. They're just so good. You know? It's
Fat-
like,
What I
See,
like
fat is,
avocados.
in cooking, fat is flavor
Yeah.
and acid is
And-
life.
I love
100%.
cooking with avocado oil. If
Yeah,
you guys don't
avocado
cook with
oil
it,
is good.
because
Gotta try.
you can cook it at a higher temperature
Yeah,
and
it
it
has
doesn't
a higher
change.
burning point than olive oil.
It doesn't change the chemical.
Really,
Yeah.
olive oil should just be used raw. I don't. I still use it for
There's
roasting 'cause I love
this
flavor, but-
clip of RFK who's like, yeah, back in the day, fast food used to be fries used to be fried in beef tallow, and then somebody
It
made
was.
a shirt, make frying oil beef tallow again, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I would wear that shirt
Oh my
unironically,
gosh, for
like
real.
that
You
would be
would.
so sweet.
He
Yeah.
would. Yeah.
Actually, McDonald's. So, me and my boys' random subject is we watch How Was America Built. Have you
Mhm.
guys seen that on the History Channel?
I feel like I've seen it. Yeah,
you
yeah.
have to get into it. Like they go over anything. Well, they had an episode about McDonald's fast food, how fast food got started, and the whole McDonald brothers and everything.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Have to check it out.
It's really, really good.
And did they used to fry their fries in beef tallow?
Yes,
Yeah.
that is true.
Yeah.
And they actually didn't.
Delicious.
They used to sell pizza. You
Yeah.
never would have known.
Yeah.
And chicken, their chicken nuggets used to be the whole freaking chicken, like bones
Yeah.
included.
Oh
They
my-
just like
More of like
So
a
just
sit down
hamburgered it
restaurant.
up and
Right.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Crazy.
yeah. And they
But-
hired a
Poor
French
chickens.
chef to create chicken nuggets. By the way,
Oh, that's
random
funny.
fact.
But we kind of talked about it briefly before we started recording about advertising and all the things, or maybe it was
Yeah.
after we started recording. Man, we've covered a lot of territory
Yeah, we
here.
have.
But like hearing McDonald's fried their fries and beef tallow, but you know they don't now. It's like it goes back to like in the early 80s when we discovered, soybean oil and corn oil and all these like hydrogenated vegetable oils that were so much cheaper to make and purchase comparatively to the animal fats. And so next thing you know, it's like animal fats are bad. They cause heart disease and all
Eggs
of this.
are bad. You know.
Yeah, all of this
Yeah.
stuff. And it's like, and then, come to find out all these years later, as I'm like finally learning about this, I'm like, when all of that was come out, there were no conclusive, controlled research studies on animal fats
100%.
being the cause of heart disease. It was all about
They
the
were made the
price.
villain because
They were made the villain
yeah.
because it was cheaper and easier, and there was backing behind all the vegetable oils, which
Yeah.
is just, it's just wild.
Absolutely crazy.
You brought up RFK as well, which
Oh, yeah.
I think I'm like really excited. We can get a little controversial with like politics here, but I just personally with where we've been at in the health and food stance in the country for a long time. It's pretty ridiculous the fact that we still have a food pyramid. Like Amanda's like adjusting in her
I'm like,
seat,
I'm
but
ready for
she's
this
like,
conversation.
let's go.
Let's
Getting
I'm
ready. Let's go.
Let me get comfortable here.
Buckle up, kids. We're going for the political.
We're going
section.
in.
And then everybody's quiet.
and
I'm
then
just
we're
like,
like,
I was gonna
well,
say
here, I'll
something,
let-
but I'm like, if politics trigger you, now's the time to leave.
Yeah.
Well, we're not gonna. Okay,
We're not really politics. We could just talk
No.
about what we're
Just
excited about
RFK.
with RFK.
I will say RFK's stance on peptides, I'm super excited about. But anyways.
let's talk about it. Health side, I'm super excited about
Mhm.
it. Super freaking excited. Agriculture side, we're worried.
Yeah.
He doesn't know anything about agriculture. He doesn't
Yeah.
understand it. Like, he made a political statement about how every farmer should be organic farming. And it's because he's in his statement, and it was so freaking incorrect. He made a comment like, organic farming is better because they don't use pesticides and chemicals and whatever.
do.
And it's
They
like,
do.
no,
Mm.
they do.
Yeah.
And so again, with agriculture, I don't use my platform so much as like bridging the gap between consumer and producer because there's so many other great resources out there. I'm more focused on the health side of things, but like there's so much that people just don't understand when it comes to agriculture.
Sure.
Like, okay, corn or like high fructose corn syrup. Okay, for example, super bad for humans.
Yep.
But again, corn is amazing for cows.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and so you know, it's just like explaining that and like actually, you know, my health side of things. You know, agriculture does line up with it. Like a lot of people just don't understand GMOs, for example.
Yeah.
Like, if you go into a grocery store and have a banana, watermelon, for example, those are GMO foods.
Mm-hmm.
Do you realize it?
They
Like,
have been modified.
they have been modified, and you know why GMO exists?
Even lemons.
Is because it's basically making that fruit or vegetable resistant to diseases, and you use less chemical and pesticides on that because it's resistant, and you don't have to kill off so much bugs.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure there's been studies basically saying that like there's practically no difference between GMO foods
There's
and
not,
non-GMO foods.
and again, GMOs have been made bad, just like, you know, animal fat.
Yeah.
It's just like when it doesn't bend or benefit a certain industry, they dump billions into this marketing strategy
and lobbyists and
make people fear it. Like, I'll never forget this. So back in college, I remember coming out to California, and some guy, I shit you not, had a sign that said GMO free oil. And there was a line, and that was just when GMO was coming out, you know, and everybody was scared. Yeah. And I'll never forget it. There was a line, just this massive, and I'm like, wait a minute, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah, they don't know what that means.
Like, that doesn't exist. That's like the best marketing strategy for that guy.
Yeah,
I mean, kudos to you.
Slap a label on that thing, and
that's also another problem where like literally you take a health food, and what makes a health food a health food? It's the labels that are on it. It's like, this is gluten free, and it's like, what I'm trying to think. It's like, this milk is gluten free. It's like, of course it's gluten free.
Or like,
are you kidding me?
It's milk.
You know what?
People don't understand why
Oreos are vegan.
But people just hear gluten's bad for you, and they don't actually understand. So I had a type 1 diabetic go through my program. And if for the people that don't know what type 1 diabetes is basically they're insulin resistant. Like their body doesn't create enough insulin, so they have to take a shot to survive.
To get the blood sugar.
And the biggest thing is like they have to be careful about how much carbs they take because again, you know, carbohydrates are broken down into glucose, which spikes your blood sugar. You know, and going through that whole craze. Well, this type 1 diabetic, she like had never consumed over 100 grams of carbohydrates in a day. Well, I coupled that with a high protein diet, and we went through all this, and I'm like, just trust me on this. Like, I want you to stick to these macros and just trust me. Like, I have the education. And so she did. You know, 6 weeks later, she actually went for a doctor appointment because that's when she had her checkup for type 1 diabetes. And he's like, I don't know what you're doing, but don't quit. He's like, I've never seen your numbers been so amazing. And she's like, I've never consumed bread, for example. She's like, I'm eating more carbs than I've ever eaten in my life. But the trigger is like she was on a high protein diet. She just wasn't taking enough protein in. And she wasn't eating the right type of carbohydrates. You know, and so it was super eye-opening for her to go through that process. And she's just like mind blown. She's like, I can actually enjoy life, you know, and eat carbs and like actually be able to have a piece of bread if I wanted, you know. But again, it's a type of bread. Like, was she eating Wonder Bread over here? No. We focus on 100% whole wheat bread or sourdough. Sourdough bread is really good for you.
Because I'm like, most people in my family are gluten sensitive or gluten intolerant.
But they could eat sourdough.
So my mom and my sister, they make sourdough. And if I'm going to buy or have bread, like when I love avocado toast, which feels like this huge, massive treat to me, I feel okay if I have genuine sourdough bread. But otherwise, I'm just like, well, that was
and it's about the fermentation and all that stuff. But
say fermentation, anything fermented. It's good for you.
Amazing.
Well, we're talking about labeling. It made me think of like eggs, for example.
Yeah, there was that craze where eggs were red.
So it's like when they say, but it's about how much cholesterol misleading there is with labeling is what the point of this story is. And so when eggs say cage free, and people equate with free range, and it's like cage free just means they're all in the big barn all together, still running around.
You know who has a great video about that? Ethan Chlebowski. Like, I would love to talk to him face to face, but like Ethan Chlebowski has a whole video. It's like a 40-minute thing that explains the differences between the different types of eggs, and definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, we got a little bit.
But it's back to labeling. They slap something on it, and they could charge more money.
Yeah.
100%.
GMO.
Yeah.
Right?
all of a sudden they have this big GMO sticker on it, and it's like.
The other thing they don't talk about is that GMOs brought the cost of food way down.
Yeah.
You know, food would cost a lot more if everything was.
Which leads to diabetes.
Well, I mean, that's
obesity.
Just in general, that's just a good
That's
thing
what I
to
meant
keep
to say.
cost of foods
Because
down.
now everybody's eating food for way less.
But
So
really,
really,
though,
GMOs do cause obesity.
Did you just correlate GMOs to obesity?
Yeah, because food is so much cheaper now, right?
I mean, I
so
get it.
that's
Make that
the
correlation.
GMOs.
It's just so
no, but really,
funny.
that's a
was
concern.
so
You
funny.
want the cost of foods to be lower for people to be able to afford
100%,
food.
Yeah.
Well,
Your
especially
grocery
healthy
bill.
fresh foods.
Well, the population is going to triple, if not double, by 2050. And first and foremost, GMO is obviously safe, but at the second time, like the food system would collapse.
Yeah.
There's no way to make enough food because you can't combat diseases. You can't combat like the the bugs and everything. And it's like it has to exist to be able to keep the food system up with the population growth.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
It's been like that since the beginning of time, honestly. Like there's we're down a tangent, but like I listened to this series about the history of food, and it was always a struggle of like the population could only grow as fast as the technology around food production could grow. And so it's like, and so it is very fascinating to be able to look at that. And looking forward to the future of like, we need to make sure that we can feed our population is super, super important.
Yeah. And throw away waste less food. It's crazy to me to think that we could reach a point where there's not enough food for all the people, and yet how much food we throw.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's just something I'm taking on as a personal challenge to myself is like try not to throw away any leftovers.
Waste.
And like on the week that my kids are with their dad, I'm kind of like challenging myself like, I wonder if I could spend only $50 on food this week. Like use up whatever's in my fridge and my pantry. Because like my kids like, I don't want to eat that, or whatever. And so I'm like more mindful of like what I'm making when I have the kids and like, but when they're gone, I'm like, I'll eat whatever. Like just fuel my body. Every once in a while it's like, oh, I really want this. But for the most part, I'm focused on so many other things. I'm like, I just need some fuel. And so I can put together some random shit from the fridge in the pantry.
Girl, I got recipes for you.
Oh, I believe you.
Well, I got tons.
And thankfully, my boyfriend and I eat similarly. And I'm like, I'm cool with just a bunch of stuff in a pan and a bowl and some hot sauce and call it good,
Amazing.
But food waste is like real and serious. And I feel really bad anytime I'm like, first of all, it's not just wasteful. It's also like, what a waste of my money.
Yeah.
My resources.
Do you know what the expiration dates on foods exist? Do you guys understand
to sell more food?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
that makes sense.
Because when milk, obviously you can tell if milk's spoiled.
Oh, for sure.
Smell the sucker, But like if it's after its expiration date, like you're not gonna die.
Right. Well, and there's Best By or there's expired or used by, and I know people who are like very like no, it's too close. I'm like, smell it. It smells fine to me. Does it look weird? Does it have mold growing on it?
In fact, sometimes I feel like it tastes better. I mean, obviously there's a turning point. Sometimes I feel like it actually tastes better. I think it's because the fat actually like comes up to the surface the longer it sits there, and then I get the skim. Anyways. But no, I honestly think sometimes milk tastes better like the longer it sits in.
Well, I grew up drinking like raw milk from like not just whole milk, but like from the farmer. Like it's not been pasteurized, homogenized, nothing. It's like that sucker got milked and put in a jug, and we picked it up. Homeschool family,
You have to shake it to get the fat.
So
off.
I actually just looked into. There's a website you can go on where you can see where you can purchase raw milk, and I just went on it because I was like, I want to get some raw milk and make my own butter. Like, I'm seriously, if you've never made your own butter,
it's the best.
It doesn't even compare to what the stores taste like. Like even buttermilk and stuff. So
if you turn your own butter, you're on
with the raw milk and the yogurt that she made with the raw milk. It was like runnier, but oh my god, the flavor was insane. It was so good.
Yeah, I went down this whole rabbit hole of even like my husband saw on the internet where somebody was grinding their own flour. And I was like,
my mom did that too.
I'm like, I'm not quite there yet, but the sourdough thing, yes, I do make my own sourdough, but like I'm like not there yet. But
I still to this day remember the smell of my mom grinding the wheat berries in the grinder for the flour. Because, again, like, third oldest of 11, homeschool family, like my mom made fresh bread all the time. Like not only was it cheaper, but she was always very mindful of and like health conscious for our family. And so I still remember that smell. And like, kudos to my mom and to you, to anyone making bread. I'm not at that point.
It's an art.
It is an art.
It
It's
is
just so much
patience. Like, because you have to like let it rise
and
and
love on your starter.
Honestly, so I spent
like
a whole year.
I gotta feed my starter. Like that's.
I'm not that strict.
You're not. Okay.
No.
I spent a whole year learning how to make bread, and like when people say like, "Oh, it takes so much time," yeah, it does. But like 80% of that, you're not doing anything.
No, it's just waiting.
It's just sitting there. So like you can go and like
that's true.
do like when I was at school and I was doing a lot of studying at home, and like in between study sessions I'd be making bread, and it was just amazing because it's just like, all right, you're over there doing your thing, all those yeasts are alive and having fun. I'm over here learning about science, and yeah, I love baking bread. It's such a great pastime, and it's so much healthier than and it tastes so much better. Across the board. It's,
Where you at?
What's that?
Where's your bread, Jon?
I know. I don't. Not.
You're a
I'm
little
not baking
quiet
any
over
bread.
there.
Yeah. Well, one thing so just to kind of wrap things up a little
because
bit
we're
too,
going down the rabbit holes.
One thing I love about what you're doing is that, fitness and nutrition can be really complicated, and
you gotta simplify it.
People trying to wrap their head around it is difficult, and so what you're doing, it sounds like you take something that's complicated, you make it not only simplified, right, or you simplify it for the person, but it sounds like it's pretty fun. And
I love it. Seriously, I thank God every day for this path. Like, I never thought I would be on this path of being able to wake up and get to do what I get to do. And secondly, I love agriculture. It's a community I love. I love being able to bring something to the table and help someone totally transform their life and all of a sudden become energetic and excited about life. At the end of the day. And like you said, break it down. I really stick to that KISS methodology. Keep it simple, stupid. A lot of coaches out there or trainers out there, they overcomplicate the shit out of it, and then you wonder why you're always on that hamster wheel of diet culture, and you're not understanding like why you're not seeing that progress, and then it drains your mental health in the process. And so no, you don't have to do wall Pilates. I think that's the new craze right now.
Yeah, I think so. I keep seeing the ads on my Instagram.
I'm like, what is that?
Well,
like, no.
Crap. I don't want to do this.
It's wall
Pilates.
I mean, I don't know. It's a new craze. But like, it's like, a deadlift, it works. And that's why every fitness program out there, I promise you, has a deadlift in it. A squat, it works. Like, keep it simple. Like, don't overcomplicate. You don't need to do 10 different movements in one workout. You can do 4. It's just, I'm all about simplifying things and like, and the education behind it too. I love diving into science journals and stuff like that. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, like they read self-help books, and like, I'm not bad about that. Sounded horrible, but I'm all for self-help books. It's just not my cup of tea.
It depends on the self-help book, honestly, but
for sure.
Yes, I agree with that. But for me, like, diving into a 800-page scientific journal, I'm like a geek on steroids.
Oh my gosh.
Like, it's just like,
you and Derek could
give
talk
it to
probably,
me.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
I mean, like, I'm just like all
out.
about it, because like, it's just like you can take nuggets out of it, and then you can read a science journal, like totally contradict it, and you can really shift that information. So I love being able to do that.
Well, I think at the end of the day, like your
No problem.
like the knowledge and all the training and everything is great. People in the technology age that we live in, it's not hard to find somebody to support your health journey.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to partner with someone, to choose with someone that makes you feel excited.
100%.
And I think that that's a gift that you have, because you're so passionate about it. You can feel how into it you are. You're not just like, this is not just a thing, right? You live and breathe this. Like it has meant so much in your life, and you want it to mean so much in your clients' lives and the people that you have an opportunity to impact. And I think that it can't be understated, like, how valuable that is when you decide to do someone's program, when you decide to have a coach, have a trainer, whatever. Like, just like anything, if you stick to it, it's going to work. But what's the thing that's going to make you stick to it?
Yeah.
Right?
The
Having
community.
something that, is tailor-made for you is great. Yeah. But also, like, I mean, I learned a long time ago, I am way better at going to the gym when I have a workout buddy. Yeah. And I used to beat myself up because I'm like, well, Natalie, you should just go, just be disciplined, like, and I just started shooting on myself. And instead I was like, or I could just always have a workout buddy. Like, even if it's just like for 6 months, this is my workout buddy. And right now it's my boyfriend, which is great. But it's like, no, the truth is I do better that way. And having somebody in your corner that makes you feel excited about the journey, I think it was really important. And I could absolutely see like working with you would make somebody feel that way of like, oh my God, yeah, hopeful, excitement, I got this kind of attitude. So I think that's
So when
incredible.
are you guys all signing up with me?
Yeah, right. So tomorrow, right here, let me just, let's stop recording, Evan. I got to sign up for a program real quick.
It sounds very interesting what you're doing. And it, like Natalie said, like, yeah, I mean, if you can get people to stick around, that's 90% of the work.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like you're doing a pretty good job of that.
I sign up, do the program with her, and then she comes back a year from now
for another
when
podcast.
I'm a month away from my 40th, and we'll see what kind of shape
I'm in. I accept this challenge.
Yes.
That'd be sweet.
A year-long challenge. We could do even like quarterly check-ins, just like over video.
That'd be fun.
Well, it's in my program actually. So we do have check-ins and you have a coach.
Well, I meant check-ins with the
the team.
On the podcast.
Yeah, on the podcast.
Yes.
Yeah. Just a little mini episode.
I mean, I'm already gonna fix your macros. Like I'm already on that. Like I'm not letting you walk away until you let me at it.
I'm already doing your rest pod system of
the dog shit.
Dog crap. Yeah.
That's right.
Who named that? They're fired.
It was a bodybuilder, of course. Yeah.
You're like, this is a
good name for a workout.
My dog shit training. Yeah.
He's like done
even
with his
Gronk
workout,
know that.
and he's
money.
sitting there and he's like, ugh, and he sees the dog over there like pooping on the ground. I'm like, yeah, this is the type of training this is.
How did they?
Anyways, on that note, Amanda, it's been so real. It's been so fun. Where can people find you and your work?
Social media. So I'm on I take that back. I am not on TikTok or Snapchat anymore. I decided to close those platforms. But you can find me on social media at Farm Fit Momma, so MOMMA. And then our website is www.farmfitmomma.com.
Amazing. I can't wait to have you back on. I can't wait to start the program. I can't wait to be in the best shape of my life before my 40th birthday.
Girl, I'll beast you out.
Oh, I believe you.
I'll get you a rock solid booty, all of it.
I love it. I'm ready.
I want one of those.
Apple pie.
No, only for me.
Oh, okay.
Boots
God,
with
Jonathan,
fur.
I'm sorry. I'm stealing your thunder.
Mom! Sorry.
Where's Mom?
Where's Mom?
Donna?
Your mom's Donna.
No, her mom's
My
Donna.
mom's Donna.
Oh, there you go. Wait, we have the same mom?
Well,
No.
it's like that scene from Batman versus Superman.
You guys, this is a reunion. It's a surprise reunion. We wanted you to know.
We're brother and sister.
Evan, cue the music.
We start crying.
Confetti. Woo!
Oh my goodness.
This was such a fun episode.
It has been.
Though.
It has been a lot
really
of fun.
enjoyable. I figured there was going to be so many different tangents we could go down, and we did. But I feel like we even restrained sometimes. So but that's always
a little
fun
bit.
A little bit. We're not good at restraining ourselves. We love the rabbit trail.
Do we want to do an outro?
Let's do an outro.
Do you want to do the outro, or do you want me to do the outro?
Do you want to do the outro?
I can try to do the outro.
Derek,
I'm never really good at scripted stuff, but I can try.
Derek,
It's
I vote you. I mean,
believe
we've
you.
heard her
It's
amazing.
not scripted. Speak from the heart.
Yeah,
From
there
the
you go.
heart.
Speak from the
Okay.
heart to our listeners.
Wait, he's gonna center himself.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath.
Feel the zen coming in.
Do you want to hold my hand or are you okay? Take my power. Take my power. Do it. No, hold my
I'm
hand.
channeling
while you do
it into the camera.
Just keep doing. You're taking my power.
I can't even focus now. Guys, if you like this episode, feel free to subscribe to our channel down below. If you have specific guests that you'd like us to bring on in the future, feel free to comment those and down in the comment. If you have questions for Amanda, feel free to shoot those our way, and then we'll shoot them over to her, and we'll hopefully get another podcast episode with her. But thank you again for following us, and I think that's it.
Hi, everybody.
Well done.
Woo!
Peace. Thanks for tuning in.
Nice.